This is just a very cool conversation about influencers and what's going on in the social media industry and influencers. Which of you have worked with influencers before? And what annoys you the most about working with influencers, besides the influencers themselves? How do you know if what you did actually was worth it, if it was worth the expense, if it was worth the annoyances, the demands? Like, how do you know? How do you measure that? I work at Booking.com, and we work with micro-influencers, which have like 10K followers, and we also work with Martha Stewart, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Brooklyn Beckham. So it's a long run with influencers. The thing is, how do I measure success if I work with Brooklyn Beckham or if I work with a micro-influencer that, I don't know, makes hats? Why would I compare the two of them? How would I compare the two of them? How would I say, okay, it was worth more working with X or Y? And because we've been asking ourselves these questions in the last couple of years, at Booking.com we have developed Booking.com benchmarks. So I want to start a conversation saying, the platforms, Meta, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, they will always give you industry benchmarks. So they will compare us, for example, not compare, but they will offer us metrics that are within the travel industry. So they will let us know, for the travel industry, average engagement rate is 5%. Okay, but maybe travel industry for them is Jet2 holidays and also Airbnb and Expedia and also, I don't know, Trivago. But what these brands are doing, it's not necessarily the same content strategy, and they are not necessarily trying to do the same thing that we are at Booking.com. So we have come to develop Booking.com benchmarks because we don't want to work as other brands are working with influencers. We don't care. We want to work as we want to work with influencers. So the first thing we did is like, what is success? Like, how do we define success? And what we are trying to do at Booking.com in social media, like social owned and earned with influencers, is to be the most loved brand when it comes to travel, right? Like, we want people to choose us before Airbnb or Expedia because we're the cooler brand, like because they love us the most. Because at the end, a lot of services you can find everywhere. We don't go that deep into. We do, but in a very funny way, into like the products or services. Obviously, we promote them, but we want people to choose us because they love us, because we're fun, because they can engage with us on social, because we are the coolest brand out there. So I want to do a very quick exercise. If you take out your phones and you Google, just Google, Booking.com, Brooklyn Beckham, just that. And what are the first things that come up? So the first thing that will come up is like the videos, right? Because that's how Google is set up. So you have the YouTube short first, because it's Google and it's YouTube, right? And then you have further videos like the Instagram post from Brooklyn Beckham and the TikTok post from Brooklyn Beckham, and then ours. And then you start seeing some kind of like PR articles about that particular setup that we did with Brooklyn Beckham, and then you have more information about Brooklyn Beckham himself. This is a very interesting case to talk about influencer success because this is about momentum. So this campaign happened June last year. It was summer. We were already, having conversations with him. He wasn't doing anything, like you guys know. It's just like he exists and he's famous, right? And we were looking for celebrities that are geniuses. So Booking.com, do you have Booking.com accounts? Are you genius level 2, 3? So we wanted to promote this product, which is Genius, which the more you book, the more benefits you have. Because a lot of people don't really know what Genius is, that we have a rewards program. So we were looking for celebrities that are geniuses. And Brooklyn.com is this Brooklyn.com, hey? Brooklyn Beckham is a genius for Booking.com because he's a chef, he's a photographer, he's an expert traveler, So he leaned into that, and it was a very good momentum because right when we were producing the content, a PR article came about him out of nowhere where he was being slammed for being a Nepo baby. And a couple of weeks after, we go out with this type of content, and everyone is like, oh, Brooklyn is embracing his own persona and whatever. So it was like amazing to see that we were right on time, but also kind of like because of luck, right? So you can say that was a very successful campaign because we had, media from all over writing about it. We got like dozens of free PR hits, and everything was very positive. But we work with other micro influencers and with, semi influencers and content creators and here and there. How is it fair to compare that campaign of Brooklyn Beckham with them? So we focused on two different things. The first is dividing the influencers in different tiers. And the first tier is celebrities. And celebrities, we don't work with them because of the social media following that they have or their social media presence. We work with them because of their PR factor. So they are like a different group. And then we compare them to each other. So we would compare Brooklyn Beckham with Martha Stewart and with Mariah Carey and with Sarah Jessica Parker. So we compare them to each other to measure success. And then we have the other tiers of influencers, and these other tiers are based on following, because if we are partnering with them, it's because they have a good creative proposal and they have a good, meaningful following, at least a meaningful following in the audience that we want to reach. So we tier them from 0 to 10K, from 10K to 50, 50 to 150, 150 to 500,000, 1 million plus. So now we have classification of how we look at these groups of influencers. And then we ask ourselves what is important for us. Sentiment, because one thing is going viral or getting 70 million views, but the other is the reason why you got so many views. So we want them to be the right reasons. So we have a standard of the minimum sentiment, positive sentiment that we want to have with these influencer tiers. Then, because we are a brand that wants to create brand love, we don't get into clicks or amount of booked nights or app downloads. We don't do that. We do engagements because we want to be engaging for the audience. We want to entertain them. And to measure that entertainment factor, we look at VTR, how long people stayed watching our videos, at which moment they dropped attention, because TikTok gives you those insights. So we have an engagements benchmark, amount of engagements. We have a positive sentiment benchmark. And the final and most important benchmark is contracting fees. So we're not gonna pay the same to an influencer that has 10K followers, than an influencer that has 2 million followers, than Brooklyn Beckham. So we also group the contracting fees in there. And that's one of the biggest headaches on the influencer marketing industry. Usually how it happens, it's a brand approaches an influencer and they are like, hey, we want to work with you. This is more or less what we want to do. And then the influencer comes back with, yes, this is my cost sheet. What do you want? And then the brand chooses and the influencer can charge whatever they want. And they can charge very randomly. If they work with Chanel, they can charge them $500,000. And if they work with a local store that's going to open up, they can charge them 5K because they can. And that's okay. But that's not how Booking.com wants to work with influencers. So we approach the conversation already with a proposal of the contracting fees, because we know how much we've been paying, we know how much we've been getting in return from all the rest of the influencers. And we start a conversation already with that. This is the idea, this is the reason we want to work with you, and this is how much we're gonna pay you. Are you in? So then you remove that instability on a 10K follower influencer charging you 5K and the next one charging you 57K. So we remove that. And it's not a straightforward process. It's been a process of 2 years. We have those benchmarks right now. And now we are in the moment where we realized influencer marketing tech, it's not there yet. Because there's a lot of influencer marketing tools that allows you to manage campaigns, research influencers, create some reporting dashboards, etc. But there's nothing so customizable that we can log all that information in. So that's the moment where we're in and we are saying like we're pushing the industry boundaries forward because we are, requesting something new that's not yet out there. And so the big learning about influencer marketing, like metrics, like success metrics and benchmark, is that we don't have to get used to what's done in the industry as brands or local businesses. We don't have to go with the flow just because it is what it is and it has always been there. And yes, I understand I'm talking from a place of privilege because Booking.com is quite a big company that can do this. But if more companies start working like this and, more also medium to small businesses start as well, trying to change the way we're working with influencers, maybe we can have like a more data-based approach to measuring success and saying, hey, why am I even working with influencers? Just because we have to, or is it actually because they are giving me something in return? Because I think that's the question that it's very difficult to answer. And in this world, everyone is like, influencers, collab, oh my God, paid partnership, yes. But sometimes we forget, like, why are you doing this? Like, what? Like, you don't have to. Like, if it makes sense for your brand, amazing. But we need to take a step back, look at the data, look at what we're getting in return, and maybe you realize that, for the last year you spent 500K on influencers, but maybe 500K would have given you one celeb that's gonna give you what no one gave you. So we want those kind of insights, and that's kind of like the journey we're in right now. And well, yeah, I'm here sharing that journey and just saying like, don't think that you have to do the things as they are just because they are like that. And it doesn't matter if you're like a small company, a local business, a big company, a medium company. I think we all have the power to actually challenge these relationships and the industry per se. And influencers, they can be annoying, but they are also wanting to work and they are also wanting to transform some things. And they also want some guidance because sometimes people become influencers out of their randomest things. So they also want some guidance for the brands and they also want to evolve their game. So that's a very personal question for your own brand. Like, does it make sense for you and your brand? Like, it's again, as I just said, it's going one step back. Why do you want to work with influencers in the first time? Because the regular answer is like, oh, reach, just to expand my reach. But why do you need to expand reach? Because reach for reach means nothing. What impact are you going to do in that audience or that community that you do want to reach? If you want to use an influencer, you might as well want to use an influencer that you cannot, an influencer that has an audience that you cannot reach. If anyone has TikTok, and you can open Booking.com's profile, I think the fourth of the fifth video, it's a collaboration that we did with an influencer, and she does crochet dolls. Has nothing to do with travel. She's not a travel blogger. She's not a luxury whatever. She literally crochets dolls, and we work with her and we paid her. Because if you want to partner with influencers, for us, it's because you want to reach an audience that otherwise you cannot reach as Booking.com. So why does your brand want to reach influencers? And once you have that question answered, then you will be able to decide if it's worth working with them or not. The non-financial are 100% our success metrics. So basically the PR factor, which literally comes from PR practice, so not social, but PR, obviously we factor that into choosing to work with a celebrity or not. And then not the engagement rate, but actually what we look at when we choose an influencer, we look at amount of followers, yes, but we look at the audiences that have engaged with their content in the last 25 days, because that's where you want to have your insights. So to create these benchmarks, we also look which kind of audiences are these people reaching, and why would we be interested on that? How much is the CPE? How much is the CPM? How much? Yeah, factor all of that, and then we get an ROI. But it's a spreadsheet that has been building up for 2 years. That's why we're looking into moving into an automated marketing tool for handling influencer data.